All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fred Ortiz, and welcome to my Intro to Navisworks Manage Lunch and Learn. Join me the first and third Wednesdays each month. For those of you who attended my previous Lunch and Learns, welcome back. And for those of you who are new to my Lunch and Learns, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it. Our goal with these Lunch and Learns is to share efficient ways of doing things when it comes to your CAD BIM software. All right, so as far as our agenda, I will begin today's Lunch and Learn by talking about the benefits of utilizing Navisworks Manage on your building projects. Navisworks Manage, for those of you who do not know, is a project review software that enables architecture, engineering, and construction professionals to review integrated models to gain better control over the project outcome. Navisworks Manage includes advanced tools to simulate and optimize scheduling, identify and coordinate clashes and interferences, collaborate, of course, and to gain greater insight into potential problems down the road. So during my live session, I will be showing you how to set up a project, navigate through models, and set up and perform clash detection tests using the Navisworks Manage tool. Also, after my live Lunch and Learn on Navisworks Manage is complete, I will give you a sneak peek at BIM 360 Glue, which will be the topic for my next Lunch and Learn taking place in a couple of weeks. So BIM 360 Glue is what I like to call Navisworks in the cloud, and allows you to perform the same tasks as Navisworks Manage does, except your models are saved in the cloud, providing easy access to team members from anywhere. For those of you who are new to my Lunch and Learn series, let me just give you a brief introduction of my industry background before joining the Contive team. I have over 20 years of industry experience, such as working for an MEP engineering firm, where I worked on numerous AutoCAD, Revit, and MicroStation building projects. I also worked for a film editing equipment company as a CNC machinist, a machine assembler, and a hand drafter before moving on to using AutoCAD 13 back in like 1995. All right, so the benefits of Navisworks Manage is, of course, the advanced clash detection tools with the ability to export your clash detection tests to save as a record of previous clashes or for a clash review. There's also model-based quantification takeoffs available in Navisworks Manage with the ability to export your quantities to Excel to be used for estimation purposes and maybe another piece of software. And of course, rendering and visualization of your models is relevant in Navisworks Manage. It's a powerful yet easy to use tool to create visually impactful renderings. You could have them still or animated renderings. And what they do is they further communicate your construction intent or what the final results of the real project will look like. And last but not least, I'll be getting into the deeper integration that Navisworks has with BIM 360 Glue that allows you to manage your models and team members' models in the cloud with the ability to append the models in Navisworks directly from BIM 360 Glue. So really quick before we jump into the live session, when I was still in the MEP engineering industry, I worked on multiple projects that did require the use of Navisworks for coordination purposes. Majority of the time, we didn't perform the clash detection tests ourselves in our MEP office or on our models. We would send our models to the architect and let their BIM coordinator take care of finding and assigning the clashes to be resolved. But in the last year or so, I have seen somewhat of a culture shift in the industry when it comes to clash detection, where more and more consultants, may it be MEP, fire alarm, telecom, etc., are being asked to perform their own clash detection tests. And with the growing use of BIM 360 Glue, which I will talk about later on in this presentation, lead architects now on building projects are starting to manage their project models in the cloud via BIM 360 Glue and assigning the clashes to the consultants to resolve on their own, with notifications being sent to these team members via BIM 360 Glue in real time. All right, so it's about that time to jump right in and get this live show on the road. So in today's live Lunch and Learn, I'll be showing you how to set up a project, like I told you, in Navisworks Manage to perform a clash detection test. I will also be showing you the various navigation tools to view your appended or merged models. And last but not least, I will be setting up and performing a clash detection test on an actual MEP model and resolving those clashes for you. Before we begin, though, let me briefly explain the differences between the various Navisworks file types, as well as the differences between appending and merging your models in Navisworks. So to begin, there are 3 different file types associated with Navisworks. First, you have your NWF file, which is a Navisworks project file that contains your appended or merged models that you want to perform your clashes on or take quantifications off. You also have an NWC file, which is the Navisworks exported file format that is usually from another piece of software like Revit or some other software, mostly Revit. And an NWD file is the equivalent of a PDF or DWF of your Navisworks models or sheets. So that's more of an output of your actual project to maybe give to somebody else for review. So as far as append versus merge, the main difference with that is if you merge a model into your drawing, merging actually checks for duplicate files and append does not. So when you're combining NWF projects, you would most likely use the merge option. That way you can eliminate duplicate geometry and markups. But if you're loading single files with no linked references into an NWF project, the append option will work just fine. And that is what we will be doing today. All right, so really quick, let's go over the Navisworks user interface and the options. But before I go ahead and set up our project for clash detection, let me just kind of walk you through this Navisworks user interface and focusing in on the tools we will be using today. So first off, if you look at the screen, I'm going to go up to my application menu on the top left, and I'm going to select my options. And right here, I want to make sure a few settings are set before we get going on our clash detection. So first off, I'm going to check my general tab, and right here, I want to make sure I do have my autosave turned on, and have the save times between 15 minutes, which is okay. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to jump down to my interference tab and check my display units. I want to make sure that these are in feet and inches, fractions, degrees with a 2 decimal place, and my fractional display precision, I want it to be at 1/16, which isn't too bad. So I'm going to leave it right there. And one last thing I want to check is my tools and my clash detection. And on this one, I just wanted to give you a brief overview on this because we will be seeing these colors later. This is where you actually set your clash colors. When you're doing a clash detection test, it makes the two things that are clashing a certain color, but right here you could actually change the color that you want it to be. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to leave it as is, but I just want you to know that you can change the color of your clash detection tests. All right, so everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and say OK and close the options down. And now what I want to do is kind of focus up here on my tabs up on the top. So we have our home tab, like most software does. This is where we're going to append or merge our models into our Navisworks. We could also reset appearances, transforms, and links right here as well. If you ever get stuck in a command and you want to get out, this is a pretty cool tool. You just click on the select, and that'll take you out of it and bring you with your cursor, so you could actually select an object. Over here we have our select and search panel. You could select all in your scene, or you could turn off and on your selection tree, which I like to leave on right here on the left. We also have sets. If you have any kind of saved search sets, you can manage them right here. Over here's your visibility panel, where you could hide, unhide, and hide all. And we'll get into that a little bit later, I think. Over here on the display is where you could turn off and on your links, your quick properties. Your properties over here, I have them turned on. If you notice on the right, they pop up. I like to have them over there docked. And then I have my clash detective tool right there. If I turn that on, it pops up over here. So I like to leave that on so I could access it when I'm performing clash detection tests. So right now I'm just going to close that down. And over here we have some more tools that apply to different kinds of functionality in Navisworks Manage. And we'll probably go over that in another session. So over here on the viewpoint tab, we do have a place to save viewpoints, edit your viewpoints, and play them back. And something new that came with 2016 of Navisworks Manage, your viewpoints are automatically saved in your clash detection. So once you have that setting turned on to automatically save, they'll automatically save for you when you're going through your model, which is a pretty cool feature. Over here you have your camera and your camera settings. We have our navigation panel right here is where you could access your navigation tools. I won't focus in on that too much because I want to talk about those tools over here to the right, which are pretty much the same thing. We have our render style when you get into rendering as far as lighting and modes, shaded, wireframe, hidden line, stuff like that. Then we move over to our review tab. Review has your measure tools, point to point, point to multiple point, you can get an angle, you can get an accumulate review of your points and distances and an area. Also we have our clear right here where we can clear our measurements. We have a red line panel, which is where you would do your markups, choose your thickness, your text, your color of your markup, things like that. This is where you can add tags to your project, and this is where you can view comments and find comments. All right, so moving on to animation. This is where you'd animate your scene. So if you want to do a walkthrough of your building, you would record it and save it for you could give it to a client or review it later with your project team. Over here we have our view, and this consists of our navigation bar over here. If I turn that off, my navigation bar turns off on the right. Here's my view cube. I want that on, and my HUD, I like to have my XY axis showing over here on the bottom left. As for the grids and levels panel, if you have any kinds of grids in your model, this will be active, and you could actually show those in on your scene. Here's your scene view. You could go to full screen. You can split your screen. This just gives you a better way to view your model in your scene right here. Over to your right, we have our workspace. You have a window drop down that lets you choose which tools you want to have showing up on your workspace. And we'll get to the workspaces in a minute because I like to set my workspaces up per task. So today we're doing a clash detection project, so I want to make sure I have my clash detection workspace set up. All right, so over here in output, this is where you print, send, publish, export a scene, your visuals right here, and then more options to export data. And right here I do have this BIM 360 tab, which is something relatively new to Navisworks 2016. This I'll talk about a little bit later, but really quick, just to show you, this is where you could actually access some projects from the cloud and actually append them right here into your Navisworks. All right, so then we have your render tab where you could do some Autodesk rendering. You could access your render gallery online. You could actually render in the cloud if you have to with cloud credits. And this is just your interactive ray trace. And my last tab is a Vault tab, which not many people have. This just allows you to connect your Navisworks models to Vault. All right, so moving on from the user interface, and before I jump into the navigation tools, let's just quickly set up a project really quick. That way I could actually have a model on the screen so I could use my navigation tools. So I'm going to go ahead and set up this project. So when setting up a project for clash detection, you can append your Revit models directly in Navisworks. So you can bring a Revit model directly in and manage it that way, but I prefer to export my Revit files into the NWC file format. And for this Lunch and Learn, I have 2 NWC files already created for this project, but I will go ahead and convert my last MEP model in this live session to show you how easy it is to do. And after I have my MEP models in NWC format, I will then append it to my Navisworks project with my other 2 NWC files. So let's go ahead and append my existing NWC files I do have located on my computer. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to my Home tab and click Append, and I'm going to append this model. So what that does, it opens up my Append dialog box, and I'm going to select my architectural and structural models to bring in. Let's click those and say Open. All right, so what that does, it brings in my NWC files of those two models. So if I go over here and click on this Home tab, which is a very important tool. So this Home tab takes you back to your home view of your model, and that is changeable. So right now I have my home view in this location. So now I have my 2 NWC models in there ready for clash detection. But before I bring in my MEP model, which is the actual model I'm gonna perform the clash detection on, let me move over to Revit really quick. All right, so this is my MEP model in Revit that I want to export to an NWC file so I could add it to my project. So what I got to do right here is I got to go to my add-ins and browse to the left, and you're going to see this tool called External Tools. If you click that, there's 2 options. So the one option right here is Navisworks 2016. That'll actually export it to a Navisworks NWC file. And this right here is Navisworks Switchback 2016. And this is a pretty cool tool. It's been around for a while. But what it does, it allows you to switch back and forth from your Navisworks clash to take you right directly to Revit, and it actually shows you that actual clash in Revit, so you could fix it right there on the fly. And then after you fix it right there in Revit, you could actually export it back to Navisworks and then rerun your tests. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that tool's turned on. So I'm going to go ahead and select Navisworks Switchback 2016. This will activate that to integrate with my Navisworks. And then I'm going to go back up here and export my Navisworks 2016 file. So I'm going to export this scene as a NWC, and I'm going to save it right there in my project, just like that. So right now what it's doing is just converting that Revit file to an NWC file, just like that. And now I'm going to close down my Revit model. All right, so once that's closed down, I'm going to jump back into my Navisworks Manage, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my Append up on my Home tab, and I'm going to bring in that MEP systems model that I just converted. So I'm going to click that and say Open. And let me zoom in a little bit. So if you notice right there, my mechanical ducts and my light fixtures are in my model, just not in the right location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Home tab and take a look at this, and it looks like my architectural building is a little bit rotated for this clash detection project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my selection tree and select this model right here, and I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to go down to Units and Transform. And if you notice right there in the rotation, there is a rotation which came from Revit, so I'm going to go ahead and change that from 0 and say OK. And now my model's lined up. All right, so before we begin, let me get back up to the ribbon on my View tab, and I want to save this workspace. So right now, we're going to be performing a clash detection. So what I want to do is I want to make sure my clash detective is turned on. I have my measuring tools, my sets, just in case I need to create sets. I also have my selection tree open. And over here on the right, I have my properties docked, which I like. And then in the bottom, I have another tab called Find Items. And this is pretty much how I like to run my Navisworks for clash detections. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to close this down really quick, and I'm going to go up here to the top, and I'm going to save this workspace, and I'm going to name it just like the one I have saved, Cative CD, which means it's a Cative clash detection workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, replace it. So now every time I go to that workspace, it's only going to pull up these tools that are on my screen for clash detection. All right. So couple more things I want to show you before we actually jump into the clash detection test. Down here is another one of my panels I like to have open. This is my plan view. So this kind of helps me locate myself when I'm browsing through my model and looking at different objects. Sometimes you can get lost in there. So this kind of gives you a general idea of where you're at in your model. Down here's my UCS, and over here is where we're going to concentrate on our navigation. So like I told you, this is your home tab. So if you ever get lost in a model and you're not quite sure where you're at, you just got to go click your home tab, and it takes you right back to an overall view of your project. This right here is your view cube. This is where you could actually rotate it just by grabbing it with your left mouse, clicking it. You can rotate it around. You can select certain sides, the right side, front. You can go top, spin it around this way. So this view cube gives you options as far as rotating and orientating your model. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press the Home tab to get back there. And let me go down here to my navigation bar. So right here we have our navigation wheel, which I really don't use, but this is another option just to navigate through your model. Right below that we have our pan tool. So if I click that, I could actually just come in here and pan around my model. Right below that we have our zoom tool. So if I want to zoom right into something, I could just keep zooming in like that with that tool by clicking with my left mouse button, changing the pivot, just like that. If I go back to my zoom tools and do a zoom window, I could actually do a zoom window on an object to get closer into that. If I come back to my zoom tool and I want to do zoom selected, that'll take me back out to my overall view again, just in case I do get lost. And then there is also another view for zoom all, which is kind of does the same thing. All right, so right below the zoom tool is we have our orbit. So if I click on orbit, this actually lets me orbit around my model just with the left mouse click, just like that. You also have a free orbit that just kind of goes freely around. It looks very similar, but it's more, feels more of a free orbit kind of tool. And then we have our constrained orbit, which is kind of just goes along the axis. It can't really go up and down, just around and around. All right, so let me get back to home. And let me move on to our next one, which is our look around tool. So with this look around tool, it just gives you another option to kind of look around your model, just like that. We also have our look at, which is if I click on a surface, it'll take me right to that, and I can zoom in, and that puts my pivot point right there. So if I want to actually rotate, my pivot point stays right there, and I can rotate right around it. It's a pretty cool tool. If I go back over here and do a focus, that just lets me focus in on an item, and I could actually set my point there and zoom in, orbit around that point, just like that. All right, so below that we do have our feet, which we could do a walkthrough on our model. So if I wanted to do a walkthrough over here, let me zoom in a little bit. So if I wanted to click on the feet and do a walkthrough right here, I could just click my left mouse button and kind of walk through really slowly. And if I do hit the shift, it goes a little bit faster, and this will kind of take me right through my model. I'll do a walkthrough to maybe check on some clashes that were resolved or that need to be resolved. So this is a pretty cool tool. Let you navigate around the building. See if I could go up the stairs. There we go. So once again, if I get lost in a model, I could always come back up here and just select my home tab, and that takes me right out. All right, so the last one over here is our selection tool. If you ever get stuck in a command, this is a good way to get out of it. Just click on that, and this will allow you to select an object on your screen. All right, that's pretty much the gist of the navigation tools. So let's jump right into our clash detective tools. So what I'm going to do now is, since I have my model ready to go, let me save it. I'm going to save it to my project. I'm going to call it Cative Clash Project, and save it. All right, so now I have my model saved. I'm going to just go over to my Clash Detective tools and open that up. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pin it so I can see my model and my Clash Detection tools. So first, up in this, what we want to do is set up our Clash Detection set and then run a test. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to my Clash Detective tool and just pin it like it did so that we can see the screen of our model and the screen of our tool set. And what I want to do now is I want to click this drop down. And what this does, it just shows me the different points in my test. So we have our status, our clashes, new, active, reviewed, approved, resolved. And right now we don't have anything in there, so what we have to do is we have to add a test. So I'm going to go over here to the top right and add a test for this clash detection set. And I'm going to rename this to something. I'm going to call it, let me call it lighting versus ducts. Because I want to check my light fixtures versus any ducts that may be in my MEP model to see if there's any clashes. So I'm going to name it that. All right. All right, so after I name it, give it a name, what I want to do next is I want to go to my selection tools and choose the models we would like to perform the clash detections on. So if I go down here and select on my select tab, this brings up my selection A and my selection B, which are the models I want to clash against each other. So I'm going to go down here and use the selection tree and just pick this standard standard view. So I'm going to go browse to my MEP model, my mechanical systems model, and jump down to my lower level. And I'm going to select my electrical fixtures, lighting devices, lighting fixtures. On this guy, these are specifically the ones I want to clash test against on the other side. So when I go over here on the other side on my selection B, I want to open up that same model, go to my lower level, but this time I want to select duct fittings, ducts, flex ducts, maybe some mechanical equipment and plumbing fixtures. So now that I have these set up, this is the criteria that's going to be based on my clash detection. It's going to be looking for electrical fixtures, lighting devices and lighting fixtures versus duct fittings, ducts, flex ducts, mechanical equipment and plumbing fixtures. All right, so now let's go over let me open up if I go to my results tab, let me go over here really quick. Actually, let me backtrack right here. So after we have these set, let's go over the different options for a clash test as far as the model, the lines, and points. So down here on these little tabs, these give you options to choose your clash detection surfaces. So I'm going to go from use surfaces on this one, but you can choose lines, you can choose points, and you can do a self-intersect. But I'm going to focus mainly on the surface side of it, so I'm going to leave that as that. Down here on the bottom, we also have some settings as far as clashes. So as far as my type, we have options for a clearance clash, duplicates, or a hard clash, and we're going to select hard clash here. And as far as my tolerance right here, I'm going to leave it at 116. And down here we have an option for linking. So if I wanted to link a timeliner to this or something for some animation, this is where I would do that linking, but in this one we're not going to link anything. All right, so we're just going to leave it as that. We're going to leave it a hard clash with a 116 tolerance. So after we have this set up, I'm going to go over here to this big, it's a big button, right? So I'm going to click on this big run test button, just like that. And what this does, it's going to run a test of my model set on this criteria set above, so electrical fixtures versus ducts. So I'm going to go ahead and run test. And right away, you notice we have 3 clashes that came about. So we have clash 1, clash 2, and clash 3. All right, so with these clashes, I'm going to go over the display settings of these guys. So if I go over here to the right of this clash test output, we have our highlighting over here. So what highlighting does is it goes back to those colors I showed you in the options. So if I want to take off the highlights for those, I can, but I kind of like to leave them on because it does give more color and it makes them pop a little bit more. You can also highlight all your clashes. You could also use the item color from the model. All right, so down here, going down more, it's our isolation. So right here I could click on this and it kind of dims the model in the background, if you can see that. And this one actually hides everything in the background. So you just see the 2 items that are being used for clash detection. I kind of like the dim other, if I could actually see what's going on in the background. And I like it for transparent, because right now if I take that off, it's going to be too hard to see what's going on. So I like to click that transparent dimming, and I like to leave on auto reveal. And going down one more to viewpoint. So if I click on this, I wanted to auto update my viewpoint, so every time I do change my view over here, it'll auto update it for me. So that viewpoint is constantly being saved and updated for me all by itself, which is a cool feature of 16. And I like to have this checked on, which means to animate my transitions. So when I browse back and forth to different clashes, it's kind of animated for me, which looks kind of cool, just like that. So there's the animation feature. And if I'm over here messing around with this and I want to kind of focus back on my clash, I could just click focus on clash, and it'll take me right back to my model. Just like that. On right here is my simulation tab. I do want to show simulation. That's just the cool stuff it looks like when you're transferring back and forth. It just gives it a cool little transition look. And view in context, I want to view all. All right, so once we have all those settings to our desired choice, we could go ahead and start assigning these clashes to a user and then commenting on them. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to go click on one of these clashes. Let's click on this guy right here. So I'm going to click on this guy, clash number 2. And I'm going to assign this to somebody. So it's an MEP model, so maybe I'll assign it to an MEP consultant. And you can put a note there. Please, I'm a nice guy, right? Please move the light fixture away from the duct. Just something like that, and say okay. I can put a comment, same comment, move light fixture away from the duct. Say okay. All right, so now we have that clash assigned, and we have some notation on it. We could actually go ahead and try to fix that clash detection. So the way we're going to do that now is I'm going to resolve this clash detection by using that switchback feature I showed you guys earlier. So over here, go back over here. Just hide that and kind of do a zoom around and see right there, there's a clash. This duct is actually going through that light fixture. All right, so I'm going to save that viewpoint automatically right there. So now what I want to do is I want to go down here to my items which are available to me. And since I'm on this clash 2, it's highlighting those two that are involved, this lamp and this flex duct round. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on one of these guys, and up here on the right is this little icon. This is called switchback. And what this will do is it'll take me back to Revit and open the model that's being affected where I could actually go ahead and fix that clash. So let's go ahead and click switchback. If you notice, my Revit down here is blinking. And if I click on that, it actually opened up that view, specific view of that clash right here in my model. So if I wanted to actually come in here and move that over to fix that clash, I can, but I probably want to browse to a better view of this area so I could get a nice move without any interruptions. So there it is right there, see? So this light fixture is right on top of that duct, so I need to probably move it over, maybe a foot. So I'm going to go ahead and just move this with the move tool in Revit and just type in 1 for 1 foot. If I zoom in on that, it looks good. It looks like it's moved away from the diffuser and it's probably sitting right on the grid. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and sync with Central on this guy. Save my change. And now what I want to do is I want to go to my add-ins tab up here, and I want to go to the left to my external tools. I just want to click on this one more time to make sure my switchback is working. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to export this change model according to that clash, and then resave it over this NWC, just like that. So right now I'm actually replacing it, but while replacing it, it's not messing up my link from Revit to Navisworks. It's actually maintaining that link, even though I'm overwriting it. But what it's doing is it's sending that new model with the moved light fixture to Navisworks. All right, so let me minimize this and go back to Navisworks. All right, so now once I'm back in Navisworks, what I want to do is I want to go up to my Home tab and select Refresh. And come back over here. Click on my viewpoint. There we go. Now you can see that I moved that light fixture away and it got rid of that clash. So what I want to do now is I want to run a retest to make sure that clash has actually been resolved. So I'm going to go over here to my Run Retest button right here on the right. Click that. Look at my clash 2. It tells me it's been resolved. It tells me what level it's on, the grid, what time this clash was found. And if I go up here to the top and take a look at my test criteria, it tells me that I had 3 clashes. 2 are active right now. 0 are reviewed, 0 are approved, but I do have this one right here that was resolved. See that? And you also notice that the resolved yellow color matches this clash, which means it has been resolved, which is what we were trying to accomplish. So now if I wanted to go ahead and fix the rest of these clashes, I would just go ahead and follow the same steps I just did and resolve the rest of these clashes. But I'm not going to do that today. I just wanted to show you how to get it done and show you that it does work and show you the powerful connection between Revit, Navisworks, and BIM Glue. So now that I showed you this clash detection test and showed you that it was successful, let me jump out of my Navisworks really quick. All right, so Like I told you, after my live session, I wanted to kind of give you a sneak peek at Navisworks and BIM 360 Glue interoperability. So Navisworks is still pretty much the same powerful solution that it always has been, but now it is connected more tightly with BIM 360 Glue for advanced analysis capabilities such as quantification, clash detection, and construction simulation. And an, anal, all advanced analyzed work can still be executed in Navisworks with the changes being merged with the models in BIM 360 Glue. So if you remember, I showed you that tab. Let me pull it up really quick. So over here on Navisworks, I did have that BIM 360 tab. This is where you could actually merge your files from BIM 360 Glue if you're using that tool. So it's all integrated in here, which is pretty cool. All right, so the deeper integration between these two softwares brings greater collaboration tools and a more of a connected experience to Navisworks users. It also brings rich Navisworks tools, data, and workflows directly to BIM 360 Glue. And Navisworks 2016 provides built-in capabilities, kind of making Navisworks a true client of BIM 360 Glue. There's no plugins. So with these two softwares being used, you could actually append and align models from BIM 360 Glue in Navisworks and then save them back to BIM 360 Glue as a new merged model, creating a collaborative workflow for other team members to access and mark up. So the Navisworks data can be saved in BIM 360 Glue, and it is accessible by other connected Navisworks users via the cloud, which is important. Since a lot of the new technologies are kind of moving towards the cloud, Navisworks is kind of moving the same way with the direct connection to BIM 360 Glue. All right, as far as our summary, that concludes my intro to Navisworks Manage, Lynch and Learn with the sprinkle of BIM 360 Glue in it. So let's go over what we talked about and what I showed you today before we actually jump into our Q&A session. So we talked about the benefits of Navisworks Manage, the advanced clash detection tools with the ability to export your clash detection tests. We talked about its ability for model-based quantification takeoffs with the ability to export your quantities to Excel to possibly be used in another piece of software for estimation. We talked about rendering and visualization of your models with the powerful tools to create impactful renderings that will better communicate your design intent and will show the final results of your real project. And last but not least, we dug a little deeper into the deeper integration with BIM 360 Glue and Navisworks, which allows you to manage your models and team members' models in the cloud with the ability to append the models directly from BIM 360 Glue into Navisworks, which is pretty cool. As far as our live session, I did show you how to set up a project, navigate through models, set up and perform a clash detection test using the Autodesk Navisworks Manage. And as far as the Navisworks and BIM 360 Glue interoperability, I kind of gave you a sneak peek of that, and we talked a little bit about what it does. But if you guys are more interested in learning more about BIM 360 Glue, I will be presenting on that in a couple weeks, so make sure you sign up for my Lunch and Learn then, and you'll learn a lot more. All right, so as far as Q&A, if you have any questions, please type them into the GoToMeeting QA panel, and I will answer them as they come in. And I do have a couple already coming in right now, which are pretty good ones. So let me just kind of go over this first one really quick. The question is, where can I get the BIM 360 Glue plugin for Navisworks Manage? And that's an easy answer. The beauty of using Navisworks Manage 2016 is you don't need a plugin. The BIM 360 Glue interaction is built into the new version of Navisworks. So all you got to do is simply log into your A360 account and find the project that you do have on BIM 360 Glue and just select the appropriate models you wish to open from there. So that's pretty easy. I have another question regarding Navisworks and BIM Glue. Does BIM 360 Glue come with Navisworks, or do I have to purchase it separately? Yes, you do need to purchase BIM 360 Glue separately, but right now there is a really good promotion for that. It's called the Navisworks Manage and BIM 360 Glue promo bundle that is being offered. And what comes with that is you get one license of Navisworks Manage, which is pretty much what you need in your office, just one license of that. But you do get 5 additional user-based licenses of BIM 360 Glue for a 1-year term. As far as pricing and when this promotion ends, I think I have Eric Curatola on the line. Eric, are you there?
Yeah, I can actually get in on
Okay.
that, Fred. So,
Yeah, I need some help
like
on
you
that.
mentioned, Yeah, as far as the Navisworks managed, typically it's usually one person doing the clash detection at the office, and
Right.
most everyone has the Simulate, which comes in the suite, which is going to give you the 4D and the 5D tools.
Right.
But in regards to Navisworks Manage, a one-year rental of that normally runs around $3,300. Right now, there's a promo where they're bundling that with 5 seats of the glue to kind of extend, I guess, the power of the clash detection,
Right.
and that's $3,000 or just slightly under $3,000. I think it's $2,995, and that goes for another about 3 months till the end of April. If you guys have any questions on that, just give me a call or Fred a call, and we can walk you through the numbers and the details on that.
It's pretty good. So it's like $300 off. It's not bad. All right. So like Eric said, as far as pricing goes, contact him for that, or you could contact me directly. And let me just move on to our wrap up. And before I let you all go, if we have any more questions, Andy, let me know.
No, we're all good.
We're good? Okay. All right, so before I let you all go, here's a quick wrap up for today's Lunch and Learn. I will be sending out a follow-up PDF on today's topic with all the information intact via email sometime next week, so please keep an eye out for that. Like I told you in my presentation, my next Lunch and Learn will be taking place on Wednesday, February 17th at noon, and the topic will be Intro to BIM 360 Glue, which is a really cool tool, and I hope you guys will join me for that. I think you'll like the presentation, and I think it'll show you the value of that tool being added to Navisworks. So I hope you can be there. It's in 2 weeks. And as far as upcoming training classes, we do offer training in the tools I just showed you, as well as, of course, Revit, AutoCAD, and many more. So if you're interested in attending any of our training classes, please visit our website to sign up or contact me directly or Eric directly. And also, don't forget what Eric said about that current Navisworks Manage and BIM 360 Glue bundle promotion that Eric spoke about a few minutes ago. You are getting a deal, and you're getting some license for BIM 360 Glue to try that out, and guaranteed once you try it out, you're going to like it. It's a really cool tool to work with the cloud and Navisworks in conjunction. And to finish it off, if you have any questions regarding that, just give Eric a call for more information. And thanks again for attending my Lunch and Learn, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you learned something from this topic.